Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai. Pranam, pranam, pranam. Pranam, pranam.
Presentation. Boards. Papa centenary boards. It is there. Committee can join and then screen also will be there. He has to join and then do it.
That board, video treasure, sadhana, December 22 program, it was there. By initiation. Centenary schedule. No.
The video ne
That is another thing. It is not there. Here it is there.
I can to join.
You want the PPT, no?
Eh?
You want the PPT?
PPT.
Wait, I'll just send it now.
Vanda, but in Tavallo.
From here it is there.
I'll send it on the PPT. I'll send it in the email. So
But Kastapa, email a Kasta.
I'll download it.
Email of a customer. I think on the last day we do it. What's the request?
Wait. Let this settle down.
It is here, no?
You can transfer Can I get the wire?
Journey boards video should be here
No,
also.
it shouldn't come only here we have taken. Good one thing, you go to Swamiji, search, what is it called? It's IQG journey. IQG journey boards.
Journey boards. Here.
Da. Oh, I have to move. Transfer.
No, we have to sit. That side. No. Wait, wait,
On the
Fan, ಇದು
right of it.
ಐತಾ?
Light is there, light is there. Now it is not there. Right, right. Now it is not there. Everybody can see from the laptop? Huh?
Light is not there.
So all right, if he is not there, we will see tomorrow. If he is not coming, don't worry.
Shivan said he will come here. Okay, ma'am.
But we can continue because we can hear you talking.
Yes, Swami. Yes, I am also happy with you.
What is to be shared today? What is to be shared today?
Yesterday, Guru Devatava.
Guru Devatava.
Today we wanted to show to everybody. Today we wanted to show to everybody the 40 boats which we have brought out at the time of centenary celebration. A journey from Mangalore to Mangalore. The Purpose of that board was to give a deep insight about Papa's teachings, at the same time relating to his journey from Bangalore back to Bangalore. We can read it out. We thought if the equipments are all right, we can show it also. So the first board starts with, you can do that, you can place it in the center. You can place those who can see. Papa Swami Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. It was like a plank thrown towards a man struggling for very life in the stormy waves of a raging sea. Not wrong. No, it is difficult, because it is a video. Anyway, I think we have not prepared well, so we will go back to something else. Difficult, because it's not a PPT, it's a video. Yesterday, we were trying to hear Swami Tejomayanandaji's beautiful composition on Guru. It reminds us of the relevance of Guru in our spiritual life. Why in your spiritual life, in our very life itself. Unless and until we meet with a Guru, a spiritual preceptor, we may not know that God, what is God, what is its relationship with Him, why should I remember Him. All those things are not known to me. Right from our childhood, we used to be taken to the temples. We have a puja room at home. Parents would do some devotional exercises there. We try to follow them. Every day morning, Immediately after our bath, before we go to our school, we all go to the puja room and offer our prayers to the chosen deity, and then we go. Then we are taken to the temples, at times to the ashrams where we meet the Mahatmas. We develop so many concepts about God. So many questions will be rising up. Different deities, different approach to spirituality by different spiritual saints. We may not be very clear. But the cumulative effect of all these will ultimately take us to a spiritual preceptor. That means either somebody telling us about a particular dimension of spirituality, or we happen to read some quotation, or somebody shares their experience when they have been to that guru. Any of these might touch and kindle some interest in us, and then when we go to him, at times we ask these questions, at times our questions are answered without asking. And in our case, when we come to Papa's place, there are so many small books. First book we read was In Quest of God, no doubt. It was purely a narrative. At that time we thought it is an account of his yatra, but very interesting, because various types of experiences he had undergone, and every time he was able to maintain a sense of equilibrium, equanimity, without getting neither elated nor depressed, never finding fault with anybody, free from grumblings and complaints, highly contented in every situation he is made to pass through. These are some of the things which come to us, and then we go in detail. How is it possible? Then when we come to ashram, we find the ashram routine gives thrust for nama chanting. So we slowly try to understand there should be a link between this nama and to our life struggle. If we are really fired with an aspiration to know more deep, we will try to go. God will mysteriously, make us to get in touch with that particular article where Papa highlights about the practical application of spiritual values. That is how we start. And one day we read, God is within you. Guru and God are one. Rely on the God who is within you. Very difficult for us to understand. But still it was he who told us emphatically. He is not giving us any academic, intellectual knowledge. He has dug deep, he has experienced, and he is revealing his experiences to us. So we know whatever comes out of his own experience. God is within. So that is how then we suddenly think, now we are in quest of God. We were previously reading a book entitled In Quest of God. When we start knowing all these things, we feel, we are also in quest of God. In quest of God who is within and then without. So with the Nama we will start. Initially, he has touched upon the various aspects of Nama, not one or two. Because for the sake of those who are hearing this for the first time, we would again repeat the whole thing. Papa was also leading an ordinary life, an ordinary grihastha life, an ordinary professional life, till 1920. He was born in 1884. After education, he was not good at studies, but after that, he went to Bombay to take a diploma in textile engineering in BJT Institute. And after getting that diploma, he got a placement in a spinning mill in Madras. If what we remember is right, then his parents pressed them for getting married. Then he got married, he had a baby child, and then for no fault of his, he loses that job and moves to Coimbatore, loses that job, again to Quailon, South Kerala, loses that job. Like that, he went even to Gujarat, Gulbarga. Periods of unemployment were more than periods of employment. So the whole life is getting, shaken at every point of time, shifting the family, and he was struggling to make the both ends meet. And at that time, his father-in-law told him, "You come back to Mangalore, we will start a joint venture where we will take up this, dyeing sarees and whatnot." Initially, it was going up and up. After some time, the decline started. And a stage came when it could not be run. In that process, the relationship also got strained. He came out of it, and his brother, Anandashram, told him to start a similar venture under the banner Anandashram Vittal Rao Company in Mangalore. Initially, it was going very well. Later on again, for a reason unknown to us, it started declining, and a stage came when he had only liabilities, mounting liabilities. Creditors were pressing for their dues. Sales was not taking place. He was passing through a terrible, stressful period. Again at home, wife was often sick with rheumatism. Apart from that, she was quite orthodox in her habits, whereas Papa was modern in his approach. So there was always an ideological clash also. So both at home and outside, he was leading a miserable life. We are putting two and two together, though Papa has not said in so many words. And when this was now building up in 1920, when Gandhiji came to Mangalore, there is a big meeting in the police Maidan where he was one among the 10,000 people as Vittal Rao. You might be knowing that Gandhiji was a votary of Ram Nam. And then he started. Somehow, these are his words. An inexplicable influence he could not explain what that experience was, but an inexplicable experience was there welling up after seeing Gandhiji. And then he has written this. That was the first touch towards God, spiritual touch towards God. So from there, Gandhiji was chanting Ramnam. Then he must have switched over to Khadi, then started spinning, chanting Ram, Ram, Ram. Along with that, he was also go to the first. So we will reserve it for tomorrow. This will give us more idea. Go to the first. This was the board we were referring to. Beloved Papa Swami Ramdas's journey, first long journey as a mendicant. Vittal Rao, as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas was known before embracing sannyas, was struggling in the whirlpool of worldly life until he was lifted up by the indwelling infinite power. He felt that he was called by the divine to leave his cocooned life of severe limits and fling himself to the vast open sky of limitless infinity. This was his first long journey as a mendicant, traversing from the deep south to the far north, entirely relying on previously would be there, doesn't matter. We can show them later. Previous. Move now. Move. Where we stopped, we should. This was his first long journey as a mendicant, traversing from the deep south to the far north, entirely relying on the indwelling reality alone, every day, every step, every breath. Route map, skip. Mangalore. Papa Swami Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. It was like a plank thrown towards a man, struggling for very life in the stormy waves of the raging sea. On 27th December 1922 at 5 o'clock in the morning, he left Mangalore by train, by bidding farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction and in which he could find nothing to call his own. The body, the mind, the soul, all were laid at the feet of God. The next one, these are all his Papa's own quotes. A seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. No. He should fling himself into the infinite life. Every quotation, we have to do some thinking. No? He should fling himself to the infinite life. The moment we are convinced that this is my life, then I should take the initiative. Leap. We are on the shore, we are debating. But unless we take the leap and jump, we cannot go to the other shore. That's what he says. A seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. He should fling himself into the infinite life. The first place he went to us, Sri Lanka. Passing through Erode and Trichy, Papa was guided to the banks of Kaveri, where he renounced all that he was holding dearly, including his name Vittal Rao. For him, sannyas was like being lifted by the divine from the narrow pond of a worldly life and thrown into the extensive ocean of a universal life. Papa says, sannyas is a dedication of our entire being to the Lord and His service. It is a spontaneous wave of aspiration rising from within our own heart. Passing through Erode and Trichy. No, over, no. Oh. Throwing himself entirely at the feet of God. Papa travelled wherever he was guided to, with an empty pocket, just 2 clothes and a few books, all his possessions in the world. Hurdles did not hold him back. He managed to find something positive in every experience. Where others found prickly thorns, he saw fragrant roses. Papa says, optimism leads you Godward, while pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. As his one and only guide and guardian led him further, he saw many wonders of art and architecture, but behind every carved stone and beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. Every towering structure showed him the splendorous glory of the Creator. Papa says, be the light unto yourself, and in your own original way, manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative, set free the infinite power that is within you. His path was often paved with hurdles, but with no grumblings or mumblings. He went on, embracing every situation cheerfully. At unexpected corners, he found the generous providence of God. He did as exactly he was prompted to. At the same time, whenever things did not happen as expected, he took even the non-fulfillment as his will and wish. Very important word for all of us to think. Non-fulfillment as his will and wish. He says, life must flow spontaneously like a river. Whatever act you do will in this condition be utterly divine. Don't have any misgivings or doubts. Push on until the great truth within you reveals itself in all its glory through every part of your being. Tirupapaliyur. Surprises awaited him everywhere. Strangers became friends. Those who misjudged his attire and appearance and called him names later came to realize his worth and became admiring benefactors. In unfriendly encounters, he would never react on impulse. Eventually, they turned out to be benevolent experiences. He says, do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Do not be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with it. Take the whole world game for what it is. Pondicherry. God proposes, God disposes. That is how the old saying meant for Papa Swami Ramdas. Not man proposes, God disposes. God proposes, God disposes. Since he always believed that God is the guide, unfulfilled outcome did not lead him to despair or disappointment. Like a feather drifting in the breeze, he wandered along without any resistance or reluctance. Human life is rich with gifts which God has poured into it, for God himself is at the source of all lives in the world. Tiruvannamalai. Papa's travels took him to diverse experiences, from meandering through crowded streets to meditating in a cave for a month in full solitude. He felt God's living presence in every breath. Every creature around the cave reminded him of his providence. His fellowship with nature was so close that even squirrels would come to eat from his hand without any fear. He says, prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God so that His grace may fill you and transform your life into His very image. Tirupati. As he wandered from place to place, he did not know what to do there or where to go next, but he knew one thing for sure, that his master has got the plan, the master plan of his journey of life. As much as he found his presence around him, he also knew that what he was seeking was within. Repetition of Ramnam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal is perfectly right, but the remembrance must flow in the mind without break, like the stream of oil poured from one vessel into another. What is the whole purpose of this journey? Papa once encountered this question. He had no doubt or resistance in quest of God. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted to experience the same, and he felt this wherever he went, whoever he met. To him, all signs and signals led to one direction, to God. He says, turn your mind day by day toward the immortal source of your life, God. Let your actions flow like gentle streams, singing the melodious song of divine service. Behold your beloved everywhere. Basavada. During his travels, Papa was fortunate enough to receive the services of many kind-hearted souls, many kind of people who followed the dictates of their conscience. Seeing their services, even in unfavorable situations, with the risk of dire consequences, Papa often wondered, thy one touch can change in a moment the entire face of the universe. Papa says, let your service be done in a spirit of spontaneous love, which is by itself a great balm and a source of unlimited joy and peace. True service lies in you are not being conscious of having done anything for anybody while you are busily engaged in relieving the pains and sorrows of people around you. Jagannath Puri. Reaching the ancient seaside temple frequented by millions of fervent pilgrims, Papa felt a deep emotional connect. Papa's devotion to the divine knows no bounds, both in his abstract infinite nirguna aspect and his local personalized saguna aspect. Papa says, devotion means loving remembrance of God. Bereft of devotion, life is dry and tasteless. Devotion sweetens life and frees it from the bond of ignorance. Kolkata and Dakshineshwar. Crisscrossing the country from down south to far north, Papa was often led to the noble company of saintly souls. These precious satsangs, often held near sacred shrines, shed radiant light in his spiritual path. Revering saints, he was touched by their values and ideals they kindled in the humanity. Papa says, you know, butter comes after churning. Similarly, after struggle comes repose. The darkest night is succeeded by the bright day. So do not despair. Look within for the dawn of divine light and freedom. For this, satsang is beneficial. Tarakeshwar. Throughout his journey, he would meet people from all walks of life, from those who follow the rules in letter and spirit, to those who live precariously without much care about rules and conventions. For him, nobody is to be feared or frowned upon, and no deed was considered as weird or unbecoming. He says, spiritual progress does not mean development only in one aspect of a human being. His emotional, intellectual, and dynamic nature should evolve simultaneously. Gaya, Kashi, Ayodhya. As a traveler without an itinerary, Papa often faced unsympathetic situations, but he was never desperate or frustrated. Instead, he found them as God-given tests to remain calm and unruffled. Like gold being melted and hammered repeatedly to make fine jewelry, these trying moments made him a finer being who is in tune with the grand designer. Papa says, man's eyes are open to the transitory nature of the world through the bitter experiences which he gains in the course of life. Jhansi. During his wanderings, Papa would often retreat to a quiet meditative place to be in communion with the divine, like a dewdrop slipping into the shining sea. According to Papa, prayer and meditation are essential to destroy the veil of ignorance that has clouded the soul. Papa says, in meditation, your mind should think only of God who resides within you and not wander about in the midst of passing scenes of the objective life. The mind going inward through the practice of prayer and meditation finds the presence of the divine first within, then without, everywhere. Himalayas. Papa's Himalayan journey took him to many ancient pilgrim centers, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Kedarnath, Badrinath. The lofty peaks of mountains covered with rolling waves of clouds, the holy Ganga that flows in all calmness and majesty, awaited him. He walked on, losing himself in the divine splendor. He felt like a baby in his mother's lap as he was enveloped by a sense of serenity. Papa says, for freedom from attachment, the most efficacious means is a recourse from time to solitude. The renunciation that is required of the sadhaka is the renunciation principally of attachment existing in the mind. Mathura, Gokul and Vrindavan. Papa acknowledged and adored both personal and impersonal vision of God. For him, both these aspects, Saguna and Nirguna, were complementary, not contrary or contradictory. In fact, the impersonal is manifested through the personal aspect. So he says, truth or God is both personal and impersonal. Truth is personal insofar as it works in the movements of individual life and the world nature, but it is also impersonal as the eternal basis or foundation of this pure and spontaneous overflow of life and manifestation. Raipur. Throughout this journey, Papa made no reservations for either transport or boarding. Wherever he reached, he would look around to see a vacant spot, no matter whether it was nauseating or not, where he can rest for a while. Some of these places were rather inhospitable and offered no comfort to his weary body. Still, he had no reservations about his stay or food. He says, liberation is possible only through the human body, and to waste this life in pursuit of sense pleasures instead of trying to reach God is indeed pitiable. Body is only a vesture, a mask, or a vehicle, impermanent and transitory. Ajmer. Like an innocent child who would carry an umbrella to a gathering convened to pray for rain, Papa trusted God unconditionally to take care of him. Even when he was living in a jungle, infested with many venomous creatures, he had no fear, for he knew he was in the ever-protective hands of God. He says, a man without faith is a vacillating creature, vacillating between sorrow and fear, whereas he who possesses faith is a real hero who has conquered weakness, stands firm like a rock in all the storms of life. Junagadh. While traveling in the western India, Papa managed to visit contrasting terrains from high and mighty Girnar hills that got 10,000 steps to climb to the seaside town of Porbandar. But wherever he went, His sense of empathy and compassion towards his fellow being, including animals, was intact and evident. The world, he says, the world we live in is a school in which observation and experience offer us immense possibilities for self-improvement, nay, that the world itself is Guru or God. Dwaraka. Papa had an unwavering clarity and conviction about the path he has chosen. His faith in visionary saints was unshakable. His relationship with his friendly fellow travelers was not burdened by any expectation from his part. Surrender is of one kind, he says, total only. It means dedication of your entire life to God. There is no such thing as partial dedication. I-ness is not given up partially. Bombay. During his travels, Papa sometimes met people who were going through tragic and painful situation in life. They were looking for solace and solution. Listening intently to their tales of travels, he would then guide them to the uplifting and reassuring hands of the Divine, offering them a safety net in the uncertain world. He says, if we look at the problem raised as to why people suffer, why accidents happen, why people suddenly die or pass through long periods of agony, from the karmic standpoint, we find that suffering and death come to man according to his past actions. Panchavadi and Tapovan. Many incidents in his journey convinced him that God's ways are always inscrutable and he alone knows the why and the wherefore. Papa was always content with what he had and never wanted anything more, even when he was repeatedly offered. He says, feel always that you are in his hands and therefore always safe. With the weapon of God remembrance, you can dwell in the midst of temptations and remain unaffected. Trambakeshwar. Many a times, Papa was saved miraculously in precarious situations. These events reinforced his faith and trust in his Savior and convinced him that he alone exists. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world is what God calls a butterfly. He says, be calm and serene in all situations with the thought of God in your mind. Be always brave and cheerful. You are truly under his protection. Pandharpur and Bijapur. A journey is an expansion in many ways. It opens new windows to the hitherto unseen world. For Papa, whatever he came across, nature, buildings, people, animals, everything extolled the glory of God. Seeing a cow, Papa was reminded of how God through this creation nourishes us without fail. To Papa, cow represents a grand ideal of all that is gentle, pure, self-sacrificing and innocent. To love all, Papa says, is the true bhakti of God. To serve all is the real worship of God. Hubli. During his journey, Papa was fortunate to get the darshan of many Mahatmas who inspired him with the exemplary life they led and the universal values they kindled. He says, Society of Saints is the most effective means to awaken the heart to the consciousness of God. The aspirant should approach them in all humility with an attitude to receive their enlightening influence. Pandava Caves, Kadri, Mangalore. Back to Mangalore. Papa's journey that started from Mangalore came a full circle as he finally reached the Pandava Caves near the time. To sum up, it was a journey that began in the background of frustration and utter restlessness, ended in a state of peace and serenity in God's remembrance. Papa says, the soul which is imprisoned within the toils of individualism now attains the bliss of perfect freedom. So it was a journey from Mangalore to Mangalore. As we said earlier, when he met Gandhiji, the turn took place. From 1920 onwards, he took up the Nama chanting, side by side with reading of, not merely reading, and doing mananam on, reflecting on, contemplating upon, meditating on the profound theme discussed in Yoga Vasishtha, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Light of Asia, New Testament, and Gandhiji's works, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, works of Swami Ramtirtha, works of Swami Vivekananda. So in these 2 years he was trying, that is why he could get many answers. And the chanting became very effective, not slipping into mechanical, superficial, lip level exercise. As he kept on chanting, when he was deriving the inexplicable bliss, he wanted the mind space to be completely cleared, exclusively for God remembrance. For that, he had to cut short all the comfort zones. So he reduced his meals from 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and 1 to mere boiled potatoes, that too without any spices or salt. He reduced his dress, he started stretching himself on a mat and chanting. And in one book it is mentioned that out of 24 hours, he was chanting for 22 hours. He was becoming indifferent to all the worldly activities. In the meantime, God facilitated by close friend of him to come forward and offered him that I will take over your sick unit. I will invest money, clear off your liabilities. You take charge of the production, administration, finance, I will handle. Normally, when we are hard pressed, when somebody comes forward like this, we will take it as a God's great, bounteous blessing and we will carry on with that life. Papa did not. Papa dissuaded him not to invest. But again, the person was very clear. So he invested and the whole thing was revived. But Papa did not shift his priority. He knew these are all transient. Today it will be all right, tomorrow it will not be all right. I want that which is intransient, that which is permanent, that which stays with me, that which is eternal. So he carried on with his own sadhana, and on 27th December, when he got almost stabilized, that the God within is behind every thought, every word, every act. One day he was made to think, why not he throw himself totally in his feet? Sitting in an umbrella under a protected shadow, we can talk philosophy because some protection is there. Only when we throw ourselves out, where we are not known and with nothing to fall back upon excepting his remembrance, that is the test by which we know for ourselves that our trust in God is total. That is why he was prompted to take up this yatra, which we went through now. So nearly a year, 8 to 9 months, absolutely without anything to fall back upon, excepting God. He was always cheerful, he was always positive, he was always remembering. He was always conscious of the master designer, the planner. So he had, like a child going along with its parents, he was moving from place to place and he came back. After some time again, here when he came back for the first time, he also went for inward journey. Previously, whenever he resorted to solitude, he has not mentioned that he had taken to inward journey. So after coming back, he took to serious inward journey, and whereby he was able to revel in that indwelling reality. When he came out again, he went out again. That was chronicled in a book called In the Vision of God. After that tour, when he came back to Mangalore, one of his brothers in Kasaragod told him to stop moving out, and they put up an ashram, a thatched shed, very near to Kasaragod, on the banks of the Chandragiri river. And to Papa, he is not treating that brother as proposed. To him, everything was God's. So he was staying there. When he was staying there, he was not accepting anything from anybody. The brother sent some food, he will take a little food, that's all. But always in a blissful state. Word got spread that a Swami who is always in a blissful state is staying here. So people started going there. It was at that time, Puja Mataji, who also had to go through the severest test of losing her loving husband at the age of 20 with the 2 children with her. To her it was a biggest blow. It shattered her life. She wanted to end her life. And then we all have to sit here now today. So Mataji had to step in. So God made all those scenes in such a way that Mataji's husband's brother, who was a doctor, was posted in Kasaragod at that time. So he brought all these families there. And when the doctor heard that a blissful Swami is staying here, he thought the darshan of the Swami will give his sister-in-law some peace. So all of them went to that hermit, to that cottage where Papa was staying. As soon as Mataji saw Papa for the first time, suddenly, intuitively she felt, this is my father, mother and guru. Her mind for a moment became full. And then from next day onwards, she started regularly going to Kasaragod ashram. Explained everything to Papa. Papa initiated her with the holy and all-powerful Ram Nam. And then put her on severest test to prepare her for erasing the me and mine. She was asked to go and do all sorts of household work in strangers' houses. This had happened in 1928, when Mataji was 25 years old. Ladies were not exposed like today, and at that time, Mataji was asked to go to a stranger's house, do washing, cleaning, vessel cleaning, sweeping, so many things, So they will mock at her, somebody will bully her, somebody will find fault with her, somebody will shout. But that gave Mataji an opportunity to wipe out the me and mine completely. So along with this, Ramnam was also going on. And she was also feeling peace. In between, the doctor got transferred, or he had to go to London. So the entire family was shifted to Dharwad. With reluctance, Mataji went, and then she couldn't stay there more. So she told her children, you come with me. I will take care of you. If I get kanji, you will also get kanji. But children said, no, we will be with uncle, we want to go ahead with our studies. So Mataji came alone. alone all the way from Dharwad by steamer up to Mangalore, from Mangalore by train to Kasaragod. And when she reached the ashram, it was night, must be 7, 8 o'clock. Papa was observing silence, 2 or 3 or 4 inmates were there. As soon as he saw Mataji in that, he wrote a chit, "Mother, you have come to your own place." So with all people, they were all staying there, cooking and simple cook, and carrying on with. She was attentively taking part in all satsang sessions while holding on to Ramnam. But somehow, God willed that the area should be shifted. Mataji's role has to become more clear, more conspicuous. So another drama God played. People who were there, they were finding fault with Mataji. Why should this lady come and stay in an ashram? So one by one the male members started leaving, and one day somebody in the neighborhood, in the night they came and they wanted to strangle her. At that time Papa said, "Ram," immediately they ran away. On that day Papa decided that they should leave. Then both of them left. Papa had no idea, everything is okay, every incident is pointing out towards something which God alone knows. But Mataji blocked the way and extracted a promise that wherever he went, he will take her. So next morning, they reached Kasaragod, Kanjangad, and there was a relative nearby who had just finished, put up a new house, and they wanted Papa to come and stay there. So they were staying there. So now slowly God revealed his plan. He made somebody to go and suggest to Papa, "Why should you go here and there? Why don't you set up the ashram here?" And they offered 400 odd acres land. And then Papa, to him everything is God's will. Mataji was also taken, and then from that day onwards, Mataji took over. In the sense, all activities were handled by Mataji. Papa used to say she is the Adhisthana Devata. So the bhajan hall with no veranda and side row, as you see in the photo here, as you enter this hall, plus a small house for Mataji to stay and cook, that was constructed, and Anandashram came into being on 15th May 1931. And this was the message. Morning we read. That is clearly given here. And when he said ashram does not mobilize, ask anything, because that word, the Lord is the help, Lord is the refuge, Lord is the guide. So that means everything has been handed over to God. Lock, stock and barrel. So the onus of running the ashram rested on God. So for the past 90, now and in 1963, Param Puja Papa dropped the body. Mataji, who is behind everything that we see now, she dropped the body in 1989. And Puja Swami Sachidanandaji, who joined the ashram in 1949, who served Papa for 14 years, who served Mataji for 40 years, he became the spiritual guru, and he dropped the body in 2008. This is something about our three masters. More of it we will dwell tomorrow. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram Om
Hari Om Pranam, sir.
Hari Om Pranam. You were able to follow the contents of the 40 goats.
Yes. Yes, Swami.
Because here
Hari Om Pranam, Swami.
we were playing it, we couldn't play.
Tomorrow.
Pardon?
Show the PPT tomorrow.
Tomorrow we will, we will dwell on it. Okay. And we, in every board, something can be added because then only it will go. Now we have just completed it in marathon as a Rajdhani Express. Something may remain, something may not remain. So tomorrow we will slowly go because each quotation needs lot of pondering. So tomorrow, today the system was not cooperating or Papa did not make it to go along with it. So before 3:30 everything will be made perfect, and tomorrow we will show it to you as well as to the people here, and then we will go one by one. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram. Pranam.
Namaskar.